Hello, everyone. Alan Schultz here, Chief of Police for the town, and we are 10-8 in service, which means we're here to safeguard the lives, rights, and property of everyone we serve. And we do that in an effort to make people's lives better. This is a live show, so if you're watching it live, feel free to ask questions live during the chat, and I'll work to get to them. And whatever I can't get to, I'll work and I'll respond in the chat after the show. I usually stay on for about 15 minutes or so after to answer any questions that come in kind of last minute. I do want to cover a few things first. Our evergreen topics here, we want to make sure that you're aware. So download the FEMA All Hazards Checklist. We're highlighting wildfire right now. This will have useful information should a wildfire happen, but really it's about preparing for it prior to it happening. And how are you going to know about it? Of course, everybody that listens to this show has probably already got Nixle downloaded. Go ahead and also log into the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff Community Warning System and opt in for notifications via that system as well. And then download the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide, which will have some information on how you can be prepared for a wildfire. Also, if you want to come see us, we're going to be out at Coffee with the Cops August 4th at 9 a.m. And we'll be at Bagel Street Cafe, and that's the one in the Livery. So downtown by Sycamore Valley Road West. All right, so first question I want to ask everybody, take a look at this, and in the chat, let me know. This is an email I got earlier today, actually. Yeah, today. And it looks like it's coming from my boss, Town Manager Joe Calabrigo. So I'm going to leave this email up for a bit, but I want you in the chat to let me know if this is legitimate or fake, and why would you know it to be fake. This was an email direct to my email, my work email address, from who should be a work email address from the town manager. So go ahead and take a look at it, and then let me know if it's real or fake, and let me know some of the techniques that you think that they were using in order to try to pull one over on me. All right. We've got a lot. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, but there's a lot in the crime, and I think there's a lot of lessons that you can take away from this one. And then we have some messages to get to as well, because I think there's some good examples. All right, yeah, let's move to the crime. All right, you can go to communitycrimemap.com and download that information direct from the website. We upload there several times a day, so it does stay up to date. And you can also get sexual offender registry information there as well. Not horrible for traffic. I just wish people would maybe leave a note or something. A lot of non-injury hit and runs last week. That's pretty much all we had reported. On the 10th, we had one that was reported at the PD. It actually took place downtown. On the 14th, we had a non-injury hit and run reported on Tivoli Lane. And then on the 16th, we had a non-injury hit and run reported on Lily Court. So all hit and runs, thankfully no injuries. All right, a lot of crime. And we had 2 violent crimes. Usually we have no violent crimes. We average about 1 a month, and we had 2 in 1 week. One was a robbery and one was an aggravated assault. All right, so on the 10th, we had a theft of merchandise from Costco. This is someone that just walked out with some merchandise. On the 12th, we had a stolen bicycle from the front yard of the 2000 block of Rancho Verde Circle East. On the 13th, we had a business that was burglarized on the 800 block of Camino Ramon, and some property was taken while the business was closed. On the 13th, we had a stolen car from Morano Circle, and it was recovered in San Leandro, occupied, so that person was under arrest. It was a juvenile, and so we'll be filing that case later. On the 13th, we also had another stolen car. This one was kind of weird, though, because it was only driven a short distance, and then it was recovered, and it was taken from Cameo Drive. On the 13th, we also had property stolen from an unlocked vehicle on Savona Court. On the 14th, we had a robbery as a result of theft from Lucky's. The subject was arrested and booked in jail. And on the 16th, there was a fight, and ultimately the person used a blunt object to strike the person in the head. That's an assault with a deadly weapon, and so that case is actively being investigated. But I want to talk about the 14th, the incident on the 14th at Lucky's, because it plays right into the, should you report crime and all that. And I kind of want to tell the story, and I have a first-hand account because I was actually the person that, believe it or not, reported it to the police. And I know that sounds a little strange, but I was the witness to the crime. So what happened was I was in Lucky's, and I could hear the commotion. And as I went forward, I could then see what looked like people struggling over a purse. I took a couple pictures, right? And then I went and asked somebody at the front, another resident, hey, has somebody called the police? He's like, yes, the police have been called and they're on their way. So then I start to use my phone to take video, and we have two phones as cops. One's a work phone, one's a personal phone. So I'm using my work phone, I'm getting the video, and then I call the police because I didn't trust that somebody had called. And sure enough, no one else had called. And there were several witnesses. And then I gave the information to the police, and they came and ultimately they investigated it and they resolved it. The reason it was a robbery, and we've covered this before, it's what's called an Estes. Robbery and Estes is after the case. And in the act of the theft, they then used force to complete the crime. So the struggle over the bag, and if they do things like battery and things like that, it elevates a theft to a robbery. So not quite like the violent ones we saw last year, but nonetheless, it's still taking of property by force. So that person was ultimately arrested, booked in jail. But I want to cover, this. What happened? What should you do when a crime? And we've talked about this. I think I've been really pushing this, but should I report crimes to the police? Absolutely, yes. Even if you think someone has already called, because you may have a different view or a different perspective, or you may have caught something that someone else didn't. And I want to cover, what does it mean to be a good witness? Because I talk about it and I say like, hey, call, let us know what you see, but let's be a little more specific and drill down. The first thing you have to do is you have to pay attention. We want you to be safe. We want you to be in a safe place, and we don't want you to compromise yourself in any way, but you got to pay attention. You got to actually, even if you have to, you can take notes. What I like to do is take a video, and then I'll narrate into the video sometimes. That way it's, instead of writing down, it's an easier way of doing it. But if you're not taking a video, take notes, fairly contemporaneous to the event. So maybe you witness an event and the event takes place and the suspect flees and is gone. It's a good time in that moment, after you've called the police, to actually sit down and write those notes, because the information won't stay and you really want to write it down. What else should you do? Report it immediately, even if you think others have called. It's very, very common for a large group of people to see a crime happen, think everyone else is calling, meanwhile no one has called. And so we really want you to do that. We do ask that you not intervene. In the example that I just gave with me, and I'm the chief of police, I'm in the town I work in, but I am off duty, I'm in plain clothes, I'm not readily identifiable as a cop, and our policy is very specific that says we will not intervene unless there's danger to someone's life. So we step back and we take that same role, and we let the people that are on duty take care of it, and we are good witnesses. And that is exactly what I did. And that's what I would expect all of you to do, is just be a good witness. Don't put yourself in harm's way. There's always a question about being anonymous, and you can always be anonymous, but what I would say is we do need a way to recontact you. And so we would like to at least get a phone number, because you may give us some information, but maybe we have a follow-on question about something you observed or where they last went to, something that can help us solve the crime. And so our preference is for, someone that witnesses a crime or is a victim of a crime to simply not to be anonymous, come to court, provide their information as to what happened. But we do understand that some people may fear retaliation and want to be anonymous. So we do understand that, but we do encourage people to not be anonymous. All right. I've got a couple topics here, and I want to cover the email. Let me see if anybody's put the email out. Let's take a look at the email one more time, and then I'll cover it at the end. So I'm asking, is this email legitimate? So let's take a look at it. It's from Town Manager Joe Calabrigo. That's my boss. And it's sent to me at my official work email address. And the email says, "Hi, is your schedule open today? I'm heading for a meeting, but I'm excellent with emails if that works. I want you to discreetly handle a task for me. Thank you. Sincerely, Joe Calabrigo." All right. So let me know if you think this is a legitimate email. If you think it's legitimate, say it's legitimate. If you think it is not legitimate, maybe in the notes, just type why you think it's not, or what sparks are telling you that this is not a legitimate email. All right. So we've been covering our updates. So quarterly, I give an update to the town council. In March, it's my annual update. And then there's smaller updates on the 3 other quarters. This last quarter, I covered an update on traffic-related issues, training, and community outreach. I talked about training last week, but let's see if I can forward it here a little bit, but I do want to cover one real quick because it's coming tomorrow. So just a reminder, at Monte Vista High School tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 12, we're going to be doing active threat training. This is where we train in responding to various active threat situations. The goal of stop the killing and stop the dying, we train both sides of that. So a lot of it has to do with how we may clear a room or a building, or how do we move tactically so that we can have a tactical advantage and make sure that we get there as quickly as we can. The other side is making sure that we are trained to stop bleeding, right? So if that's an extremity wound, whether it's packing it, a tourniquet, whatever it may be, our officers are trained in that. Now, there is an interesting story. This is going on about 10 years ago now. We did this very same training, and the very next week, there was a call of someone who was using a saw and cut a portion of their hand off and had a severe bleed. And it was one of our motor officers that actually went out there and was able to respond really quickly because he could get through traffic, quickly put a tourniquet on and stop the bleeding very quickly. And then fire showed up, and, our fire department is awesome. And so they took him to the hospital and saved the guy's life. I have to think that, with getting that tourniquet on so quickly, that officer helped in saving that person's life. So even though this is training that's kind of this comprehensive training geared towards active threat events, we clear buildings on alarm calls. If you think someone went into your house, we're going to clear the building. So the techniques we learn and relearn and refresh on this annual training, we use all the time. So even though it's a comprehensive training, each one of those little components that we train to, we use quite frequently. So it is good training. It's helpful to have, and we do use it here in town, even if we, knock on wood, don't use it for the singular event that it's trained for. So I'm looking, Roy's got an interesting comment here. Roy is on YouTube, and he's commenting. He says that he believes the email is fake. He says, you'd know if he is good with emails. He doesn't need to tell you that. Very good, Roy. And there's a reason that person tells you that. And yeah, your boss, one, should be good with emails, and you should know that. So that's a very good observation. Good job, Roy. All right. In fact, we'll cover the update. So let's go over this real quick. So you can find this on the Chief's website, the June 2023 update on training, outreach, and traffic safety. We're going to talk about traffic safety right now. The two maps that you have, this was a look from January 1, 2023 through May 31st, 2023. And if you look, the map on the left, if it's green, that means it's one of those non-injury collisions that we report on every week on this show. If it's yellow, that means it's an injury collision. Now, if you look, most of our accidents are clustered in that downtown corridor, and then you see them, and that usually accounts for about 25% of all of our collisions. If you look on the map on the right, that shows our traffic enforcement stops. So that could be a ticket. It could be a warning citation, and it could just be a warning, but those are all of our traffic enforcement stops from January 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2023. And so if you look, there's quite a bit. And the ones that are up in the Blackhawk area, just to remember that we are the sheriff's office, so our data is combined. So that's your Blackhawk deputies out there working hard, doing speed and stop sign enforcement out there. So if you look, it kind of goes to the point that when we do traffic enforcement, one of the things we look at is, where are the accidents occurring? What are they occurring for? We also listen to you. If you tell us, hey, I'm noticing someone running a stop sign here, they're running a stoplight, or I see a lot of speeding, or I see cell phones downtown, we're going to take your information because we believe that it's a good indicator of what might happen. And we want to make sure that we push that down and make sure that we're safe here. Let's look at our collision and citation rate, and we'll talk about this. So the collision rate is, this is month by month. And so in January, you can see at 33, it was pretty excessive. I would say our average would be around 20, and we were only below that 1 month for the first 5 months of the year. And so that's pretty high. So if you look, we started pushing our citation rate up, and that's representative of our overall enforcement. So we were just over 100 in January, and we're just under 500 in May. So we are increasing that. We're encouraging not just our traffic officers, so the ones on the motors and the cars, but I'm encouraging our deputies, our officers on patrol, to evaluate their area, their geographical area, look at where the collisions are occurring, and do enforcement in those very specific areas for what is causing those collisions. So Lou says, Chief, I was with our county deputy district attorney, Mary Knox, this afternoon. She is a big fan of the job done by the Danville Police Department. We're a big fan of Mary Knox too. She, along with a lot of the deputy district attorneys at the office there, they fight really hard and they do really well. I know throughout the years, and I've been at this for a little bit of time, throughout the years, we filed some pretty significant cases with the DA's office, and you never see the work that they do, and you never see the long hours they put in. You never see them at 9 o'clock at night putting a case together to come in at 7 to get it ready for court that day, and the pile of cases they have. So we're happy to have the relationship with the deputy district attorneys in that office. All right, let's talk about the email. All right, so I'm going to put another picture up here, but this one I've kind of highlighted a few things. The first thing is if my town manager or someone inside the police department is going to email me, it's not going to come from a Gmail account. City private email 7.gov@gmail.com. That's not a legitimate email address. The big one is, and if you have any influence at your place of work or business, I would really suggest you do a banner similar to this one. You see at the top where it says, caution, this email was not sent from Danville staff. What it does is it just simply identifies that it's coming from outside of our servers and that you should be aware, right? And because we know a lot of emails will look just like this one when they're trying to spoof and pretend to be someone else to get something. So if you look at it in the email, I highlighted or underlined a few of the words. So today, so they're trying to create a sense of urgency. Excellent with emails if that works, because he knows if I call Joe, he's going to say I never sent that email. And then discreetly. So they want me not to talk to anyone else, right? And so what they'll do, the two big things that you should always look for is they're going to impersonate someone in authority. So they're going to create an authority figure, right? And sometimes you may get this where someone pretends to be the police and says, hey, you owe us money or we're going to come arrest you. It could be maybe someone that you do business with. It seems like on my phone, I get your Netflix account is closed and give us your credit card if you want to reopen it. And I seem to get that a lot. And if you think about it just by the numbers, if you send that email out 100 times or that text message out 100 times, it's probably likely that it's going to hit a Netflix customer and they're not going to want their account to stop. So they're going to respond to it. In this one though, so they also have to create a sense of urgency. And he says, hey, he's heading in for a meeting and he needs this done today, right? So he's creating that sense of urgency in the way that it was written to do this. Bottom line is, don't take the bait. Always circle back. So if you got an email like this and say it was like from a bank, and it's the bank that you bank with, call them back on the trusted number that you have. Don't, if you think it's suspicious, it's probably not real. And you should check it out. So really look out for that. And Roy, good job. You actually picked one of the more nuanced things in the email, and I'll reread his comment. But Roy says, fake. You'd know if he was good with emails. He doesn't need to tell you that. So a lot of it is, I have an expectation from different people that I communicate with on how they're going to communicate with me. A lot of it is even like how they do their introduction. Hi, Alan, Chief Shields, whatever it may be. And then how they sign it at the bottom. Like there's a pattern to it and you get used to it. So, all right. That is all I have. I'm going to check the chat and see if there's anything else, but I do want to send out the quick reminder. Coffee with the Cops, August 4th, 2023 at 900. Now I'm doing military time on you guys at 9 a.m. And it'll be at Bagel Street Cafe in the Livery. And I believe there's that car show that's there. So you might be good to join, and might be a lot of stuff going on there. We look forward to seeing you out there. Also want to say that I really need you to be prepared. So if you can, download the FEMA All Hazards Guide. This will help you be prepared in case of one of those disasters that hits. You also need to be notified. So log in and opt in for the community warning system for the sheriff's office. And then download the Contra Costa County Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide. All right, checking the chat one more time. That looks like that is it. Okay, so Claire comes in with a question. I'll see if I can answer this as best I can. You may have covered this before. What happened to the teens who were in the rolled over RAV4 by Camino Tasera Starbucks? I hope the driver recovered from the accident. So we don't. Okay, a couple things. So the driver did not pass away. So there was major injuries as a result of the collision, and beyond that, we don't do like medical condition updates or release types of injuries or things like that. And we will be forwarding that case to juvenile probation for filing. So we are still working on the criminal side of that. All right. So that is all I have. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we are 1010, which means we're off duty, but we're always 10-8 in service to all of you. Have a good night, Danville.